Hey everyone, hope you guys are having a good week. So sorry for the delay in getting some of this content out to you. I've just had some network issues this week that kind of delayed me on a few things, but now I think we're back on track and I have some things to share with you about the assignments for this week and then also just some high-level overview of the readings for this week. So we are going to focus on 3 tensions that are present in organizations that leaders have to navigate through to create professional communication. And so related to these topics, what I would like for you to do is read these 3 PDFs from the textbook Courageous Communication. You can also purchase this book if you want to. Maybe parts of it may be online as well. But if you'll read these 3 descriptions of these 3 tensions, then that will give you enough background information to complete the case study for this week. And then we'll be looking at additional information related to these 3 for our next unit. So you will take a look at these 3 PDFs, read through those, watch this overview video, and then I have a discussion question and a case study analysis. So for the discussion question, what I would like for you to do is come up with your own situation that you've experienced that is reflected in one of these 3 tensions. And I'll talk about those tensions in just a moment in a little bit more detail. But I want you to think of a job that you've had or a volunteer experience or a school project, somewhere where you have experienced one or more of these 3 tensions. And I'd like for you to write about that. Describe the situation that you're writing about. You can use false names, to protect people or organizations. Choose one of the 3 tensions to apply to your case study. So top-down versus upward communication, secretive versus transparent, and then control versus collaboration. And then explain how your situation exemplifies these tensions. So talk about specifically how it relates. What was the impact that this situation had on you and what did you learn from it? And then finally, what recommendations would you make for a leader or someone who may have been in charge of that project or that job that you were on to help kind of navigate through the tensions that you experienced? And then second, we're going to do a case study analysis. So for this, I've attached a case study. I also put it in last week's folder as well. So if you will read the case study called Communicating and Leading Change in Organizations, this is actually based on a real organization, but the name has been changed. But these are real life case studies. And using the material from last week and this week, just respond to these 3 questions. So this leader's role, her new role, is going to require her to navigate change within this bank. So how is the company changing? So go back to the information that we talked about last week about how the workplace is changing, how the role of managers and leaders are changing, and talk about leader versus manager. What is this company's history with leadership versus management? What's going to be required of Kathy as she takes on this new role to help the company navigate change? So with this first question, it's mainly looking at what changes is this company facing and what type of leader or manager do they need to get them through the change. And then second, we looked at 2 models of organizational behavior. So you can choose one of the models to apply to this case study, but what are the environmental, social, and behavioral influences on Third Bank, and how has this impacted the organizational outcomes? So what has affected them from the environment that has kind of led them to where they are right now? And then finally, looking at the 3 tensions, think about which one Kathy needs to address first in order to help this bank facilitate change. So support your answer with evidence from the case and be sure to define any of the terms or any of the concepts that you talk about in the case study analysis. And also for this last question too, make sure that you make some recommendations for Kathy. We're going to talk about recommendations more in the next unit, but we can go ahead and start thinking about how can leaders actually manage through these tensions. So since I was late posting everything, all of this work is going to be due by next Tuesday. And so that gives you a little bit of extra time to work on it. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me about it. So essentially what we're talking about with this unit, Okay, so for this week, the second part of the unit, we're looking at 3 types of behaviors. And we call these tensions because organizations are faced with all of this at one time. And there's a constant push and pull over how much control do I exert as a leader in a company or within a volunteer group or whatever context I'm talking about. How much control do I exert versus how much collaboration do I allow? how much information do I keep secretive versus how much do I share? And how can I still communicate from a top down while also listening to my people and allowing for upward communication? So essentially, there's a place for all of this in a company. The leader's role is to help manage this and help balance this for their people that work for them in the company. And professional communication requires that you adapt your communication to fit the situation. And that doesn't mean change what you believe in, or, the outcome may not change. The organization may still need to do a restructuring. That's not going to change. But how you communicate about it, you have options. And a leader who is behaving in more of a professional way will weigh all of those options and not just feel like they have to communicate in one way. So leaders are always kind of trying to balance these tensions that we feel. So we're going to talk about each of these just high level now. There's a lot of reading that you can do on them. You can also look up some of this and do your own research as well, if you want more information. But this week we're going to focus on defining what these three tensions are, and then next week we're going to look at more about tips for helping to manage them. So the first tension that we see is control versus collaboration. And there's so many different types of control. You have simple control, which is pretty much what you think about in terms of, managing someone's work, giving feedback, setting expectations, and you're trying to kind of control the work that people do day to day. The bureaucratic control is all the red tape, all the paperwork that we have to fill out. In my job at First Orion, we do an apprentice program that is accredited by the Department of Labor. Oh my goodness, the amount of work, paperwork that's required in that is crazy. That's bureaucratic control. It's needed because we've got to get paid and we need documentation, but it definitely controls a lot of our time. Technical control is using technology to control an organization. Cultural control is where the culture of the organization is so powerful that it kind of overrides how people might think, and it greatly influences decisions that they make. They do so with the mindset of, supporting the culture, and would the culture be in line with the decisions that they're making. And there's nothing wrong with being in line with your culture, but it can take control to the point that there's some groupthink, where everybody's just kind of going along and thinking that they have to just kind of go along with the group. So you have to manage that. Create a strong culture, but still allow for some independence and collaboration. Social control is being controlled by social relationships, and then conservative control is coerciveness control, where people kind of bribe maybe sometimes, or kind of get you to move in a direction that maybe you don't want to, but you do so anyway, maybe to maintain the relationship, maybe the culture of the organization. But these are all different ways that we see control in organizations. And again, sometimes they are necessary. We have an IT department that has a lot of technical control over us because of safety and data and information. But at the same time, we have to be able to make recommendations about technology that we need, programs that we need, and they may have to be flexible with that and make changes. That's where collaboration comes in. So collaboration is approaching things with a collaborative spirit. We're in this together. We're going to work on this together. We have a dialogue. We show respect through that dialogue, and we look at all the options, and we try to figure out what would be best for everyone involved. There's a stakeholder model that you can read about that talks about the role of the stakeholder, and so who's really important in that collaborative process. There's many different types of stakeholders that we have. We can't be beholden to just one. You have to look across the organization as a leader and determine, who are my key stakeholders and how can I best collaborate with them. And then whether or not your organization is what they call tightly coupled or loosely coupled will determine too if collaboration can be successful. A tightly coupled organization means that work teams are very tight. They don't communicate a lot outside of their team. A loosely coupled organization is where, yes, you have a work team, but that work team is connected, but they're also connected to people outside of their team. And I think the company that I work for is more of a loosely coupled. We have teams that are very close. They work very closely together, but we have open lines of communication. So my team can communicate with not only our talent and recruiting team, but I can go down to the software engineers in our company and communicate with them as well and collaborate with them as well. So the boundaries are there in terms of defining who your team is and what your focus is, but the communication is very open. So we're a little bit more of a loosely coupled organization. We also look at top-down versus upward communication. You have to have the top-down. Information really and culture, all of it really does start at the top. That's how you know it's successful. If the leadership buys into it and they can communicate out to everyone, messages, cultural things, business things, top-down communication does work. But you can't live or work in an environment where you're constantly being talked down to. There has to be a method of upward communication as well. And just to give you a couple of examples of First Orion, we have a weekly all hands on deck meeting where everyone in the company comes together and we hear from our leaders. That's an example of effective top-down communication. So the CEO of the company addresses the company. Every organizational leader does. We talk about finance. We talk about business goals. How are we meeting those goals? And we look at it from a company perspective. But it's all coming from the leadership down. Upward communication is probably more along the way that we communicate on a daily basis. We give a lot of feedback. We encourage people to talk to their leaders and to make recommendations. And oftentimes we find that if a leader's not really wanting that type of information, it's usually because they don't want to lose control or they're afraid some employee is going to ask for something that they can't address. And that creates some fear on their part. So we have to navigate through that. And we have to balance kind of the top-down approach to really get that leader to where they feel comfortable having that upward communication. So again, great examples in the reading of this as well. And then finally, secretive and transparent. So how much do you share versus how transparent are you? And the thing about secretive communication is that everyone's going to tell their own story. So if you're not sharing, people will make it up. People will figure out, kind of what they want to think and what they want to know. So they'll make it up. Transparent communication is really based on organizational openness, candid conversation, and information sharing. And your text that you're going to read about shows a model of transparent communication. And it really provides an employee with what they call significant choice. So how can you take the information that you're given and be able to make the right choice? And that's the goal of transparent communication, is to share so that people have an understanding and they can make the best choices for themselves and also for the organization as well. So these are just a high-level view of the 3 tensions that we're going to talk about this week, and also looking at the assignments that are due. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm always happy to help, and I'll be posting some additional things for next week over the weekend. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.